Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us in another episode of The Caregiver's World. This is our second episode in 2025, and we are slowly ramping up to having more of these conversations in our channel, in our podcast. So I welcome you to join us. Today, we are having an interview going on air that I had with a woman who I have gotten to know very well recently. We are going to address her as Catherine, as I have promised you all in the past. If you do not want to be known by your real name and having the details of your story air out, I will protect your anonymity. And in this case, we are going to be talking to Catherine. Catherine has an interesting experience. She has a different perspective and angle of caregiving, or at least different from my own. And I hope that you will enjoy the conversation and get something out of the story that she's sharing with us. Do like, comment, and let me know of any feedback that you may have regarding the episode. Thank you so much. All right, Catherine.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Of course.
I'm very honored that you have decided to share with us a little bit about your experience with dementia. Walk me through this as if I didn't know any of your story. Who in your family had dementia and what type of dementia?
It was my grandmother, my mom's mom, who I practically grew up with. So it was very hard for both my mom and myself. But she had Alzheimer's. It started when I was 16 years old. I practically grew up with my grandmother. I slept over at her place. With my mom, my parents didn't really get along, so my support system for my mother was her mother. So it was super hard to see my own mother going through that, because for her mother was her world. She was her rock. She was someone that reminded her of happier times when she was younger, when she had a very nice childhood. And I had just gotten back from boarding school, just doing some exams for college, and I got the call, that she needed to go to 24-hour care.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because my mom was working at the time, so she couldn't afford to not work. So my mom was too worried about her being alone.
Sure.
So she put her in a home, which at that point already broke my mother's heart.
Of course. Because
she spent 14 years of her life taking care of her as best as she could in all hours of the day that she could. But at this point, she couldn't be alone.
So let me put a pause for a moment. Mm-hmm. From the moment that before you had your exams, that you learned about this, you knew that she had dementia. You knew that she had Alzheimer's, or was there no diagnosis?
None.
Did she have symptoms and things that were visible to
They
you?
started. So I wasn't living there at that point because I was in the States. She was in Europe, but my mom started to notice things that she couldn't remember things. She couldn't do basic stuff.
Sure.
And at some point, she started getting scared of my mother when she used to show up at her house.
So it seems like it progressed very rapidly. It went from just a few symptoms to boom.
Yes, boom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How old was your grandma, do you know?
She was in late 70s, 80s.
Okay.
So I believe she passed away when she was 85.
Okay.
So it was a few years.
Okay. How did that feel to you? Not just from looking at your mom going through the emotions, but I mean, your grandma was very close to you as well.
Yes.
What was your connection like with her? How was it for you?
She was like my second mom, right? She always looked out for me. She was one of the few people that encouraged me to leave home when I was 15, because she knew that I had a good opportunity, and she was very supportive. So
you mean for school in the
States?
Exactly,
in the States, right? Whereas someone like my dad was like, "You're my only daughter. You're 15 years old. You're not leaving." Right. So I appreciated that the strength came from the two women in my
That's amazing.
my life. And when I came back home, I didn't really think about it when I was in the States, because I was a teenager, right?
Sure.
But when I came back home for the summer holidays, and I got to see her for the first time in the home, she had no idea who I was.
Oh, wow.
None.
Oh, my God.
And then at some point she started calling me my mother's name. And my mother's right there, so it broke her heart.
Right, because she doesn't recognize her. Maybe your resemblance physically was enough that she's seeing her daughter at the age that she has a memory of.
Exactly. But she was also, I think what was the scary part was sometimes she got really aggressive. Like physically
or verbally? Okay. Yes. That happens.
We would, try to have lunch with her and try and feed her something, and she would just throw the spoon I don't want this.
Yeah.
Right. And so it was. I think you just feel so helpless because you're trying to help, but you can't, because anything that you could do is a trigger or something.
Misinterpret it.
Exactly.
How? The knowledge. How long ago was this?
This was about 11 years ago.
Okay, so the knowledge of Alzheimer's and what it is wasn't as broadly known as it is today.
Oh, no. And I don't think even on, where I grew up, I don't think we really had the resources to deal with that situations. I think we were worried about her life in the home because we didn't want nurses to avoid her.
Sure.
We wanted her to have the best care, but I think it's hard for someone who's aggressive and can't remember and can't do basic stuff to have a nurse be constantly with you and love you, right? So we were afraid that wherever she wasn't being taken care of the way that she needed to.
Right. But nurses are obviously trained, and especially if it is a place that is
specifically
supposed to be,
exactly
right, for cognition and dementia.
Exactly.
But nonetheless, I agree with you. We're not ever placing our loved one in a setup like that. I understand that some situations really do kind of put you in a situation where you have to. Like if I was by myself and I had to work, I would either move in the home with her or figure something else out. But, luckily for me, I have a support system that helps. But I know not many people do.
My mother did not.
Yeah, all by herself. How are her memories? Have you tried speaking to your mom? I don't mean to pry too much into that.
She tears up. To this day, she tears up, and I think she remembers a specific moment where she was trying to have a conversation with her mom, and she couldn't recognize her, and she starts bawling every time. I think it's very hard for my mom to talk about it because she dedicated a good chunk of her life to take care of her mom, and so for the last few years to be how they were, it was, I don't know how she handled it.
Kind of destroys
the years prior,
sure,
right? That she dedicated her life to her mom.
Was your mom an only child?
No, she had a sister, an older sister, and an older brother. Her older brother passed away when he was 40.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she was very close with him, and to this day, also that. She remembers his anniversary of where he passed away. She, it's very hard for her. Mm-hmm. And then her sister, she doesn't talk to.
Okay, so basically,
but her sister washed her hands. Right, that's why my mom ended up being alone.
difficult.
She washed her hands and said no.
It's a very difficult disease to manage, but your love for your family has to trump over that.
How could you? I digress.
Yes,
but yes, that's the situation.
Okay. So, what is it that you think that our listeners, people who are perhaps new to this, could learn from your experience? What kind of information do you think you would have appreciated or could have used if it was you back in those days with the abilities that we have now with all the technology and information?
I think I can answer that. I feel like for me, I felt like I couldn't help my grandmother, and I felt like I was just because of being young, I think my reaction to her disease was, in certain times, unkind, because I got frustrated, right? Super easily frustrated. Can't like, what do you mean? Like, this is easy. You know who I am, right? So I think that was immaturity on my part. I think that made it harder on my mom. So going back, I think I could have been a better support system for my mom, reminding her that she did the best that she could, and she went over beyond what, you know, other people would have, and reminding her that, you know, she did everything that she could. And just because we are here now doesn't, you know, the other things that she did don't just magically go away. And I think I could have just been more patient with the whole situation. But as a teenager, you know, a teenager doesn't know what patience is, right? But this disease, you can't time this disease. Like, it just happens when it happens. So if I wish I was more mature. Is the best way I can describe it.
Do you think that your lack of patience is exclusively related to age? Do you think if this were now, let's say that somebody else close in your life, not your grandma, but somebody else close in your life, were to have dementia now, and you were closely related or involved, do you think you would do a significant job, or do you think that some of that impatience would still kick in and you would have to control it?
I would definitely have to control, because I'm an impatient person in a lot of aspects of my life. But I think I would have the maturity to understand that there's that it's not going to help. Right. To get impatient, versus before I wouldn't even have had that thought. I would just be impatient and just move on, right? This is how I am. Versus now I can just like pause. Let's think about the situation we're in. Right. Is if I get frustrated, can we just get frustrated for a limited amount of time and then go right back to, okay, this is fine. Can I control my impatience and maybe just have a less of an episode of it, like a shorter episode?
Your reaction is
right?
not an autopilot.
Versus like storming out the door, like I don't want to, you know, like can I just get frustrated maybe for that second, because we're all human. We can't, you know, of course. You have knee-jerk reactions, but can I switch back to, wait, this is fine. This is the situation I'm in. Can I just go back to where I was before? So that's. I think I'd still be impatient, but I think I'd handle it better. And I think if I had to go through it with my mom, God forbid, knock on wood, if I had to go through it with my mom, I would think of all the things that she did for me, and I would try to control my impatience as much as I can. You know, you have to keep in mind that they have zero control.
Exactly, and I was just going to say that. It's no longer them.
It's exactly.
And that's something that I myself struggled a lot with.
Funny you say impatience, because I'm saying I'm impatient. My mom's as impatient. When I remember her growing up, like she was as impatient as I was, if not more, right? So for her to end up in a situation where she has to control that, I think going through it might have calmed her down a little bit. You know, I don't want to say it made her a better shaped her so that there was a little bit of an improvement, at least in that department. But yeah, my mom was impatient, but I've never seen her like put that aside, except for when she was with.
But she was able. She was able to kind of disarm it and say, "This is not normal. I need to address this differently."
So she was a superwoman.
That's a level of awareness, yes. Even if it's unconscious. It's a level of awareness that some people just don't have.
That's why my mom was every chance that she got, whether it was a lunch break, whether it was a coffee break, like she would drive over to wherever my grandma is, because she wanted to make sure she was getting not that she didn't trust them, but she didn't know if other people would know how to react to my grandmother's either reactions or what she would say. She would say some really horrible things.
Give me an example.
You look ugly. Who are you? damn, you're ugly. Like, just like that. And then or a nurse would come in. Who's this bitch?
It's almost like Tourette's.
Who's this bitch? Who is this? I don't like her. I don't like this food. Throw it out. She would just throw out the tray. So, and my mom was afraid that the people around her who were tasked to take care of her were going to get so frustrated with her, because I think that's how she felt.
Sure.
Right? But she would never do anything to either hurt or just ignore, dismiss it, right? She would never do that, but she always was afraid that because her reactions were so aggressive that they would kind of shun, like, oh yeah, let's not go take, like, that's a crazy woman.
Right.
That's the crazy woman, right?
Sure.
Because I don't think that system where I grew up, as you said, they didn't have the information, they didn't have the knowledge to deal with situations like that. So I felt like my mom, every chance that she got, to the point where she tells me this, she's like, do you remember when I used to take you to see your grandmother and you would get mad at me because we were going to go see grandma again? Mom, again?
I get it.
I'm going to stay in the car.
I'm
going to stay in the car. I don't want to go in there. I'm going to stay in the car.
Because it was, I mean, you're a teenager. This is boring. This is like, oh, what are we doing here? I get it.
I was a shithead. Like, why?
You were a teenager.
I know, but like that's what, if I had to change things, I feel like I would have held my mother more if I was more supportive. Because
if you could go back in time with the maturity and education and knowledge that you have now. Yeah, that's not how life works.
Yeah.
But wonderful that you know it now, because if you do have to experience that again, anytime you're impatient and anytime you feel like screaming, you realize, number one, I've been here before, and I know how I felt about it. And number two, I can actually retrieve myself, go to a freaking stairway if I need to, and scream there, and then come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have options. We always do. I think we just don't realize it, depending on the stage in life that we are in and our level of consciousness.
I mean, like, my dad had, like, he was zero support for my mom. Like, he never even went to visit my grandma. I never even saw him visit my grandma.
Maybe it was a good thing.
Maybe it was a good thing. I think it would have been an even bigger trigger for my grandma, because they did not get along. She did not like him, right? So maybe that separation helped, but it just, now when I look back, I just realize how alone my mom was. And that breaks my heart.
The lack of support that she had.
Yeah. And I could have been better. Like, I know that she was the only one going through it, but she needed as much help as my grandmother did.
Of course.
And I wish I provided that instead of being...
But you have it. You have it now. It's
now.
in your mind.
Yeah.
It's in your mind.
Yeah.
I could talk to you for hours. Yeah. I think we're going to have to do this again some other time and have like a part 2.
Sure.
But I thank you so much for your story and your insight. I'm sure somebody's going to be able to at least relate and be like, oh, it's not just me being whatever.
Yeah, I hope
and it doesn't just happen to me. Thank you, Catherine, so much for participating, and I can't wait to meet again.
No problem. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.